Hi, I'm Shelly from FaithX, helping you connect your faith and your business with confidence. Today I'm going to be talking about what is the third way. Typically we see things in black and white, this way or that way, and a lot of times God is calling us and saying, hey, actually there's a third way here. So before I do that, I want to remind you that if you haven't subscribed already, be sure to do that now so that you won't miss any of the videos. They come out every Wednesday. And they're all around connecting your faith in your business and living that out with confidence so we can reach more people and make a profit. And so in this third way discussion, I guess, is typically, at least for me and a lot of other people I know, is we think about things in a very black and white, like dichotomy. There's only two options, and anything out of that is not an option, right? They just don't exist. So, for example, like you're a leader or you're a follower. There's no real in between, right? You can't really be both-ish. I mean, you could in like a really hierarchical organization where like middle manager, you're a leader and a follower. So there's plenty of examples where that there are more options than we can see, but typically we break them down into two options. And this is really coming from some things that recently came up in my life and my business. And I realized that that I have a lot of these black and white thinking tendencies, and it's causing a lot of stress because it's limiting my ability to see other options. It makes this false sense of like there is only these two options, and neither of them are very satisfying or ideal. So then if that's the case, there's no hope. This is a hopeless situation. I have to choose one or the other, and they're both horrible situations and horrible choices, and what am I going to do? Can't choose anything now. And so now it's like paralyzing, it's hopeless, it's stressful, it's frustrating. It's nothing that I really want to be choosing or living into, right? And God brought to mind this example of Moses. And Moses has a lot of black and white thinking in his life. He thinks that if God is calling him, he already has to be equipped to do this thing, right? Like, oh, if God is calling him to be a speaker, you have to have the skills to speak. If you don't have the skills to speak, you can't be a speaker, right? That's like his thing. And he has a lot of those limiting beliefs. He has a lot of those dichotomous thinking where there's only two options and that is it. So there's this one moment where he is telling God that he's really frustrated because, oh, these people that you've called me to lead, they don't follow you, they're frustrating, they don't do what's right, and they don't listen to me or to you, to God. And he says, it's better that I could just die. And God is like, or there's a third option. Like, actually, it's not lead or die. It's not, you have your calling, and if you're hitting some road bumps, then it's better that you're just dead. That's not how it works. God's like, actually, you can look around and see the leaders that are already emerging in the people. Like, they're already natural leaders coming up in the community. Pick them out, and I'm going to spread out your burden a little bit. And this is like the third time in Moses' life where he's actually has too much of a burden to carry of leadership. Like, he's not supposed to be doing it on his own. That God is saying, like, actually, I'm gonna like bring some other people to help carry this burden for you. It's not an all or nothing. It's not like you have to lead it 100% or nobody can lead it at all. It's actually more of some kind of a middle situation, which brings me to the second point, is it doesn't always depend on you, right? If you're caught in this black and white thinking, it's typically because you're thinking that with the resources that you have, with the resources you can identify in yourself, those are the only options, right? That's the only way that it can be done because you have the stuff or you don't have the stuff. You can figure it out or you can't figure it out. Typically, that's what it is. So maybe it's because God has to intervene. Maybe it's because there's some power outside of yourself that has to happen or change the situation or something like that to create a third option. Or it could be that other people have to get involved to fill in those gaps between the two, right? Because a lot of times there is a lot of space in between those two options, and that's where other people can step in and they can be like, hey, actually, there's a third option or multiple options, or maybe we can go with one of these, but the things that you're so afraid of of this side of it isn't actually going to be a thing because you have other people there to support you. You have other people there to fill in the gaps where you're not strong. For example, the Red Sea, like this is a good example of those either or and then not depending on you, right? So like the Red Sea, again, from Moses' life, they came up to the Red Sea. There's water on one side and the Egyptian army on the other side. And they're like, okay, we're going to die either way. We drown in the sea or we get killed by the Egyptians' army or become slaves, right? Like that's all they can think of. Everything is terrible. We're not going to be free anymore. That's the end of it. And then God's like, actually, there's a third option. I'm going to split the sea for you. It did not depend on them, right? It was only on God's power. And that could be something that God is saying, hey, look, watch me change one of these two options into a third option by my power. Change the circumstances, change some part of that situation to become something that you could not anticipate. Which is the third piece of it is oftentimes that third option isn't what we're expecting, isn't what we're looking for. Which means we need to be praying for eyes to see what God actually is doing. Because in our eyes, things show up as black and white. Things show up as like either or, this or that. We're not really good, even as humans, we're not that great at seeing the in-between stuff, right? And so when we're in those kinds of situations, we need to be praying for God's eyes and God's wisdom to be seeing what he is doing in that third option. What other opportunities are there? What other choices do we have? The way I like to think about this is it's a really common element in storytelling where the hero is faced with two very not good options. And sometimes the reader also can't see it yet, but it depends on the way of storytelling, that it looks like the hero is only presented with two options. And a lot of times the way that they get through that is by finding that third option. Sometimes it comes from them, their creativity. Sometimes it comes from some outside force suggesting something, a different way of doing it. Sometimes it comes from a team of people going, hey, let's do it this way instead, right? You have more options, you have more resources, so it creates a new option, a third option, third way. And that's what I am hoping for myself, for you, for all of our Christian entrepreneurs around the world, that we are able to see that third option, that we can be praying for, be looking for that third way, to see what God is doing, to see the people he's putting in our lives, and the way that he's changing the resources we have available to us, the things that are happening in our lives and in the situations, so that the two options become three or more, or many, like that just like expand what is possible and expand our ideas of what could be. Because I think that the danger of thinking there's only two options is if neither of them look good, we just lose hope. And our whole faith is based on that we have this relationship with the God of hope. And he is filling us with joy and peace. That's what the Romans verse says. The God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. So to me, it's just like we need to make sure that we are constantly going to him, to trust in him for our joy, peace, and hope. And if we catch ourselves in this like dichotomous black and white thinking where it's leading to hopelessness or it's leading to frustration and we're just spinning our wheels and we're getting really stuck, we need to take that as a warning sign and start asking for God to give us his hope and to show us that third option. So if you have something that you are stuck on, if you are noticing that you're in this black and white scenario, then pray with me. Pray with me that you would have discernment, that you would have wisdom, eyes to see what God is doing, that you would already have hope, that even if you can't see what he's doing yet, that you know that he's going to come up with a third option, like he has in so many other situations for so many people in the Bible and out of the Bible, in your life too. One of the really cool things that I've done lately is I've looked at how many other examples in my own life have I had that it seemed like there were only two options and God has provided a third. And so just collecting those stories, those pieces of evidence that you can go back to and say, hey, God has already done this and he doesn't change, so that means he is totally capable of doing it again. And so I'm going to trust God to do this again, to give me that hope, even when I don't yet see how it's going to work out. So if that's you, if you resonate with any of this, put a little comment or like this video, thumbs up, and let me know that you want prayer and you want support in this. Happy to pray for you. You can even just say, hey, pray for me in the comments, or shoot me an email. My email is Shelly, that's SHELLY, at faith_business.com. Until next time, I'm Shelly with FaithX, helping you connect your faith and your business with confidence.